Hey, thanks for joining me. I just will never cease to be amazed at the amount of books that Extreme Studios pumped out. I just keep finding newer and new to me, just title after title, book after book. And then I know that everyone thought The Prophet was just the greatest thing ever, but Jesus Lord, did they lean into this? I saw this one on this place where I pick up comics for super cheap, and I'm like, well, it says Prophet number one. I have to pick that up. I got to see what that's like. I know it's not the first appearance of Prophet. I understand that, but Stephen Platt, and it's got that. I forget. I always forget what this material is. That super shiny mirror reflective surface. Is this the lenticular or whatever this is? I got to be honest. I always thought it was kind of neat. It kind of makes a comic feel special, and I don't mind that for an issue 1 or a issue 25. Like once in a while, I don't mind it. Stephen Platt, that guy's had an interesting career. We all kind of know about it. This book I was actually shocked at. Artistically, it might be one of the better things he's ever done when he was at Extreme Studios and Image Comics. Now, that might be a hot take, but I was not a huge fan of Stephen Platt when he first started. Like, I heard about him, and everyone was talking about this is the guy that likes McFarlane style with hyper detail everywhere. And I get it. Like, it's interesting. And I've looked at those early issues, those first issues of Prophet that Stephen Platt did that were so popular that everyone wanted, especially that first one he did. Is it Prophet number 5, I think, where he inked himself, and it's just insane with the detail. The anatomy is crazy. Like it's almost an impossibility to follow the story. But us kids were just looking at it because look at the detail. Look at the blood and the guts and the guns and the more blood and the more guts and the more guns. Just everywhere, everything. It was just out of control insanity. Everyone knows that. And I kind of thought it was interesting, but it was not my cup of tea. It was not my favorite thing at all. But Stephen Platt, I didn't really appreciate or like anything he did until he jumped over and did, it was like 5 or 6 issues of his own title called Soul Saga, which I really liked. It still had that same kind of like over-the-top, ridiculous energy. Like this is just kind of like a book where the artist is having fun. We're not trying to make it super serious. We're just drawing big soldiers and hot babes and giant vehicles and evil monsters and big fights, and it's fun. And that's what Soul Saga was. I really, really liked it. I feel like it's the best thing he ever did. And the art in this book is much more close to his Soul Saga era than his insanity in his earlier days at Extreme Studios. He's kind of changed and refined. And I feel like artistically, it's kind of interesting. Like this book actually looks kind of good in some respects. And then in other respects, it's like, wow, this is not good comics because this art is so overdone. It's impossible to keep track of what you're looking at in places. So we'll check it out. Again, cover. There's Prophet standing amidst just a sea of random bad guys. They look kind of like they're like knights from a King Arthur era. But then there's Prophet holding a gun, blowing them away. And then there's multiple versions of, I guess, Prophet. There's like Space Explorer carrying magical angel sword, and then like Samurai Prophet, I guess. And I don't know what this is supposed to be a shot of or who they are. I mean, there's guys up on the, is that supposed to be Jesus? I don't know. But Prophet, Platt's desire to just draw insane detail with no end is on full display. Like there's a guy here, like a hardcore soldier. He's got a peace sign on his helmet. Like little gags and jokes like that. And I don't know who this guy is in the trench coat with guns. Like it's just a sea of insanity. So crazy. But flipping it open, now it's got this stupid mirror reflective thing, and I'm not interested in showing my magical handsome face. I don't want you all to be too jealous of how beautiful I am. So I'm just going to cover that up there. And oh, by the way, X-Force number 5 coming soon. But starting off with this first page, there's things going on in this that are like shockingly interesting, and it's like the amount of time and effort that Stephen Platt puts into the work is both awesome and it's too much. And I think that people could say that that could describe Stephen Platt's work since he was first found, right? It's like he puts in a lot of work, a lot of detail, but it's so much that it's almost too much. Like you can't make heads or tail of it. Like I look at this and I'm like, I'm kind of not sure what the fuck I'm looking at. I'm like, what? There's a face, a human face there, and a human face there, and some kind of like glass thing. So I'm like, okay, are these humans in spacesuits of some type? I guess. There's kind of a small version there. I do like kind of the background. I don't know if that's a giant spaceship that they landed in. I don't know. But it's got so much detail. Then it gets confusing. And therefore, if it's confusing, what's the point? If I have to sit there and stare at it and go, what am I seeing? I mean, you do see that Platt put on the side here, Otomo. So I'm wondering if he's being hyper-influenced. I would have to guess. But I'll never hold it against Platt for like wanting to go for it and be crazy, because that's kind of what he was known for. That's what his popularity was kind of based on. And he puts in lots of effort all over the place. I think the credits are in the back here. Somewhere. So Stephen Platt pencil, then Marlo Alquiza inker with Chuck Dixon on writing and Christian Lichtner on coloring. The coloring is another thing here that I feel like I love the color palette, but it's also, I don't know if the coloring is helping or hindering my ability to understand what we're looking at. So again, it's kind of like both awesome and just too much. But that's profit, right? But yeah, human guys are like, oh my God, look what we've got. We've got something. I don't know what we've got. This says this is a joint American-Nipponese endeavor to elevate the moon's wealth. So I guess this is the year 2029. That's funny because this was printed in when? That must have seemed like so far into the future. 2029. I'm recording this in 2026. That's actually kind of hilarious. But yeah, way in the future. Oh my God, what are we going to find? And it's more of the same. It's got to flip the page over. And, I wish I could show it all, but it kind of goes off panel. Again, I'm guessing that up here on this ridge are the humans in their super cybertech outfits looking down at what? What are we looking at? It's a jumble of mechanical shapes. There's some faces in jars or glass domes again. So when I first flipped through this, I was kind of like, are these faces here the same guys down here? No, there's something else. But I guess they're aliens, or they don't know what they are. That's the whole point. The humans don't know what this is, but this is crazy. But again, look at the tech. Platt draws such great, wild technology, but there's so much, and it's so cluttered, it's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at. So it's simultaneously awesome and aggravating. And that's kind of Stephen Platt to me. It's badass, but like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I remember being in like high school, and I was like one of like very few comic nerds that I knew. But occasionally some other guys who don't read comics would come up and see what I'm looking at. And they look at a thing and go, fuck, bro, that looks awesome. That is so cool. I could see somebody who doesn't read comics looking at this and just seeing like a sea of tech and weirdness, thinking it looks awesome. But ask them to understand what's going on or explain what they're seeing. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just awesome. That kind of feels like what this is. But the human guys are like, holy shit, this is crazy. We found something wild up on the moon, even though it's hard to decipher what it is. All right, let's get back into the book proper. God damn it, you got to fucking flip the book over again. Now, when I got this book, I have to say, I was like, oh, I've seen this shot of Prophet on ad pages on a whole bunch of other Extreme Studios books forever. But I never actually knew what it was in or what it was for. And it was just kind of funny to see it finally pop up in something. So again, this I am actually completely 100% on board with this. Stephen Platt is doing what he does, and he's not trying to be anything that he's not. He is a wild, crazy artist doing this extreme image comic style that was super popular, making everyone money. And it's not like he's not pretending to be anything he's not. I don't feel like he's thinking that he's drawing some brilliant kind of work of art like Dave Gibbons working on Watchmen, right? Like this is just an entirely different thing. It is what it is. I feel like his drawing style, again, it's not that over exaggerated, insane in anatomy. Like it's still exaggerated, but it's toned down to a degree. This is the stuff of Stephen Platt that I like. I like this version and all the detail on this crazy sword. He's got a sheath back here. I guess this is the sheath for that sword. I don't know what this robotic dildo vibrator thing sticking out of his ass is for. Presumably some other kind of weapon. There's a lot of detail going on. I don't know when Prophet developed the spiky, like weird anime hair. He used to just have long hair hanging down, and now it's spiky, poofy anime hair. But I kind of dig it when an artist knows how to pull it off. And Stephen Platt knows how to pull it off. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense, but I like it. I think the coloring looks great. This is just a wild shot. And I dig it. But yeah, it's Prophet. He's up in the snowy mountains. He's standing there, and then he's standing there, and then he continues to stand there. And there's lots of text, and this book is just filled with his inner thoughts about how his memories are a lie. Some are true, some are false. How do I tell the difference? Everyone's lied to me, even myself most of all. It's just supposed to be, it's like they're trying to write this character have this deep introspective kind of thoughts, and he's just a big dumb idiot, is what it seems to me. It's this guy, I feel like they're trying to give him almost like Conan, or like the philosophical kind of thoughts that the character will have, but this is just a giant idiot asshole. And when it tried to be written so seriously, it just doesn't work. But when the art looks like this, like if this was anybody else drawing this, you know, if this was Marat Michaels or Dan Fraga or Pat Lee or any of a number of the other slew of artists, like this would just be another forgettable book. But when you got Stephen Platt on fire like this, even if the story's kind of stupid, you're kind of like, just for visual pleasure, I am so into this. But yeah, Prophet, he's standing around in the snow, thinking to himself. Meanwhile, he hears beneath the wind, I hear a thrum of engines, and something explodes from the ground, so of course he has to scream, because that's what happens in these books. You face shot, scream, and giant explosion of something. There's elements in this book where I feel like the coloring is kind of a little bit too dark and kind of muddying up things, kind of like on those first couple of pages. But then there's other times where the coloring is just vibrant, and I actually love this fire coming up out of this thing. That's pretty awesome. Prophet ducks down, and there's some giant mechanical tech thing. You know, and again, I feel like Stephen Platt's being hyper-influenced by anime and stuff like that, which good. I mean, why not? Like, that stuff, if you look at the animation, I mean, all of us know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but, like, you look at something like, I'm not an expert on it. I can't refer to a bunch of different stuff. But when I look at, like, back, was it 94, 95, when Ghost in the Shell come out, to this day, I'm like shocked at the level of absolute beautiful artistry put in animation that just nothing that I've seen on anything on American TV, you know, like commissioned and made by an American studio. It just doesn't even come close to what the Japanese animators can do. It's a million times apart, and it kind of has ruined animation for me. If it doesn't reach that level of beauty, it's hard for me to get interested anymore. But for a comic artist, if you're getting influenced by that kind of tech and these designs, I mean, go for it. So this book is basically, in part, just Crypt, it talks about Crypt, but Prophet fighting giant tech thing, with a lot of just his inner thoughts. Like, I faced this machine eons ago. Its gaze fell on me and I did not know fear. I knew rage. Now, I know I've done Prophet's voice as Forrest Gump. There's too much inner monologuing thought to repeat in his Forrest Gump voice. But if he speaks out loud, believe me, he's Forrest Gump. So then, giant tech machine, it just pops up, and it's kind of, this thing kind of, I see this a lot in some books, where it's like, awesome shot of the thing as it shows up, and the next page is just another awesome shot of the thing. The only difference is that I guess he's shooting, but it's almost essentially the same shot. There's Tech Thing standing at an angle, round cylinder body and legs and lights and guns, and there's Prophet standing in front of it. You flip the page, and it's essentially the same fucking thing, except maybe 1 second later where guns are shooting and Prophet's jumping through the air. I mean, it works. It's still pretty interesting looking. So Monster Machine Thing starts shooting, and Prophet starts screaming and thinking about the battles that he's been in, and gets into his memories about where he's been like I don't know what the fuck he's supposed to be. He's got like feathers hanging from his ear. So he's supposed to be like a Native American warrior. That's cultural appropriation, guys. That's so not okay. And then there's a shot of him swinging hammers against like Roman type gladiator things. I don't know exactly. It's not super clear. There's another shot of, I guess this is him right here in like Knights of the Round Table kind of era, jumping down into a wall of spikes. And then there's a shot of him here is this supposed to be Prophet? Because there's a Nazi uniform symbol on his wrist, or rather his upper arm. I don't know what this floating tech city is. Is this referring to past issues of Prophet? Again, hyper detailed, lots of anger and explosion and blood and guts, and it looks exciting and visually interesting. But if you're trying to decipher what the hell you're looking at, you might want to shoot yourself, because you're like, I absolutely cannot figure out what's going on. It's unclear. So you just kind of like move past it, I guess. So Machine Thing is just, I guess, shooting at Prophet. He slices one of its legs. So there's a bunch of tendrils and cables and stuff coming out of its leg there. That's cool. And then Prophet slices at the robotic thing's leg again. I have to say, this is just a minor thing that bugs me. I'm going to assume that this machine is made of metal, but getting cut open, it looks like he's made of cloth. Like, that's not what sheared metal would look like, especially if you chopped it with a blade. It's just a minor thing that probably no one else in the world gives a shit about. But while he's chopping the thing apart, then suddenly these crazy exploding panels with extreme, like, you can even see like the movement of the lines. Like, this is a scene in some anime where a character's freaking out and he's like, I live, cracking and, to like it's shattered glass. What's the point of that? Why is he screaming, I live? I mean, his inner thoughts are talking about how he's like, I've been through all kinds of shit and I don't remember a lot of stuff and my memories are lies, but I live. And then it's just more like exploding vibration line work to make it look like he's blurry. I don't exactly know what's going on. This is kind of a cool shot as Prophet comes running towards this minigun, is just unloading 1,000 rounds a second at him and can't hit shit. And then Prophet, I don't know what he did. It's like he tripped and he fell. And the machine, I do appreciate, again, all the tech design on this. It's got miniguns protruding from multiple angles. There's at least 4 that we can see. But it's funny how these other ones are just shooting off in every other direction except pointing at the guy, except the one. Why are you wasting your ammo shooting off behind, the other direction? Because it looks awesome on the page, right? You put in the muzzle flash on it so it's shooting, and you can color it up, and there's explosions and Prophet tripping. Again, I'm not sure there's this line coming from Prophet down here. I don't know if that's just a motion line as he slides, but I guess I'm just assuming what's going on. Monster's walking towards him and Prophet dives out of the way, so Monster stumbles over the edge of the cliff. Sure, why not? So Machine goes over the cliff. And then I guess he's just up there and everything's suddenly quiet and there's a tiny little shot of the plume of fire down in the crevasse. And so then Prophet just stands there in the snow and he's having like a complete mental breakdown, imagining past versions of himself throughout the eons. Like there's Asian him and Hebrew him, I guess. And I don't know what the fuck, and I don't know what the fuck, and I don't know. All these versions. I guess Prophet's so awesome. He's just been around forever, fighting in every battle of humankind's existence for all eternity, and he passes out like a little bitch. And then while he's passed out, then suddenly more tech arms show up, and I don't know what the hell they're doing to him. It looks like they're shooting lasers into his face, but then it picks him up. Now, I gotta say, all this tech drawing, it looks really cool. Like, I've tried to draw tech, and you get all these little designs and shapes and circles and screws and seams and joints to make it look like an advanced technological arm, and all this just advanced tech stuff. That's kind of tricky, but Platt does it really well. For a second, I had to stare at the sea of robotic arms and tendrils and then human arms and legs. Like, where is what? Okay, I think I see him. And there's a little floating drone there, I guess. And then floating drone just flies. And I don't get what's going on in these multiple panels down here. It looks like he's flying into an explosion, into darkness, and the little engines are glowing. But I'm like, what happened? What happened? I have no idea. Again, coloring. I think the coloring looks pretty damn awesome. There's a lot of bright, vibrant color on the page, and I like it. So Prophet fights. Okay, but again, this is Prophet number 1, right? Volume 2, number 1. Humans on the moon seeing something, which we don't know what they are. Okay, we're setting up something. And then Prophet is just standing in the snow. Why? Why is he here? What is he doing? What's his goals? What's his point? All he's doing is he's trying to whine like a bitch in peace, I guess, off in the snowy mountains, and he just happens upon giant techno monster thing. So he has to fight it. It goes over the cliff, and then he cries like a little bitch again, passes out, and then he's picked up by tech arms. I'm like, what the hell? What is the point? Why is this character here? This is a lot of page real estate to waste just for awesome art. But, that's what people wanted. Now he's somewhere else. He's somewhere. And so it's Kirby. I swear to God, Kirby and Prophet are just lovers. Like, from the time that they were introduced to each other, Kirby's like, I'm going to go with this Prophet guy. My destiny's with this motherfucker. I swear these guys are getting it on. And that's fine. Yeah, just like, why the fuck do we care about these guys? But there's Kirby. He's like, welcome home, buddy boy. And Prophet's like, what is this place? He's like, it's another one of Doc Wells' wacky hideouts. He had a lot to spare. He had a lot of spare time on his hands. So now Kirby's going to be exposition dump, just shitting dialogue and story points all over Prophet's chest. He's like, he built this place in the pre-Cambrian period. That's before there was life on Earth, to us illiterate jerks. You were there then, but I guess you don't remember that, huh? I do kind of like this little panel of his face. Kirby looks like he's swollen up and unnecessarily hyperjacked, but the heavy lighting and the inking and the coloring, and that's kind of a cool shot. And he's on some floating super throne chair. It's so weird. It's all so weird, but in that respect, it's kind of like, why not just have it be weird, and maybe it's awesome. So Prophet gets on his feet. He's like, is this a vision? And he's like, yes and no. And Prophet, I like this shot. These close-ups on the face here. Again, it's insanity with the rendering and the screamy faces and the overhatching, but I kind of like it. Like, I'm digging Platt's art. Prophet says, it has to be another vision because you're dead. I saw you die. Kirby. Holy shit, did Kirby suddenly mass shift up to a fucking giant, and Kirby looking like a little tiny hobbit thing here. But yeah, Prophet's like, I've seen you die, and Kirby's like, no, I'm not dead, but that crypt butthead used that axe of his to flush me into the time strain. I'm alive, all right, but not on this timeline. Doc Wells calls this a pre-programmed interactive 4D holocron. And don't ask me to say that twice. I'm like an answering machine message that you can see, sort of. And then I don't know what this, what is this right here? I'm going to bring this up close. He says, I-A-S-T'-E-D. I asked him. I asked him. I don't know if that's just a mistake or if I'm just not understanding what I'm reading. I assisted. I asked him to make me taller than the doc. And he says, pretty hot, huh? See? These two are fucking. He's like, look, I'm an awesome hologram. It's pretty hot, right? And Prophet's reaching for him. And then Prophet's like, you've met Dr. Wells? Again, insane anatomy, but all the rendering and everything, it's just like, Stephen Platt's never going to be my favorite artist ever, but he does do some awesome shit, and this is amongst the more awesome shit of his that I kind of like. But he's like, you met Dr. Wells, and then it just cuts to a silent shot of Prophet just standing there, just a silent shot, no words. And then hologram Kirby says, kinda, I'm not clear on any of this, John, but one thing I am clear on is that everything you know is wrong. Who you are, what you are, how you got here, where you're going. He recreated you to save his own life. And Prophet says, Dr. Wells did not create me. He says he recreated you to save his own life. I know it's a lot to swallow, kid. See? It's a lot to swallow. They're gay for each other. But it's a good idea to start with small bites. See? Start small, go big. But what you got to do now is save my life. Again, this shot of Kirby there, like swollen up, like he's suffering from some kind of like anaphylactic shock, like he's allergic to being around Prophet or something like that. And he's swelling up. He's swelling up because they're gay for each other, and that's fine. And then just out of the blue, it just cuts to like somebody else. I was like, I thought this was the same story. Like, are we in a different part of this whatever spaceship? Great tech and everything in the background. But then now there's a guy. They're like, Lord Omen, there's an anomaly in the stream. He's like, well, be more specific, like a breach. Where and when? Right here, now. And then out of some teleportation portal, I guess, there comes giant, hard to decipher fucking monster bad guy thing with tech everywhere. And he says, you will die once and forever. What the fuck does that mean? You will die once and forever? That's a fucking terrible line. Giant sword covered in blood, because he just chopped off this bad guy's head and it's dropping to the ground. And so I guess this bad guy, whoever Lord Omen is, he's just like, oh dear, it's me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So then before you get into the insanity of this double page spread, there's this little panel over here with like a bunch of more bad guys swarming on new bad guy. And he just says, renegade, their blood will commingle with the blood of millions on your hand. Okay. This is Stephen Platt to a T. There's cool shit that's crazy awesome, and then stuff that's so frustrating about it. It's like, I have to like stop and focus and struggle to decipher what I'm seeing. Bad guy swinging his arm. Now, they did do something with the design of this thing that I've never seen before. And I had to go back and look because it's a giant blade, but this giant blade arm has guns built into it. And I'm like, that's the meme. Have you guys seen that meme of Liefeld where it says a sword is better with a gun on it? This is hilarious to me. And it's kind of awesome. Like, he swipes with this giant sword, severing the heads of all these bad guys. And I think it's also equally hilarious that literally every head that's in this scene, whether it's getting cut off or just standing there witnessing the destruction, every face is staring at us. There's not one back of a human skull in this entire shot. It just doesn't occur to Platt to draw a guy facing the guy, looking at the guy. Everyone is looking at us. Look, there, this whole area here, there, everything. So it's kind of like dumb, but it's also kind of awesome. I mean, right? There's got to be a reason that this guy got a lot of work and made a lot of money and people were buying it up. I mean, it's of its era. And honestly, if somebody were to come out with a book this insane today, I would have to pick it up just because I want to relive the insanity. Even though it's objectively kind of stupid, it's just over the top fun. So it kind of makes it okay. I guess my only problem is, like, I'm trying to defend it and criticize it at the same time. Like, it's objectively kind of poor comics, but it's also fun, so it's kind of okay. I guess my only problem is that, as I think about it, that Liefeld specifically will tell you that he's making absolutely mind-blowing, respectable work. If he just acknowledged, like, we're just making insane shit. If he would just have been honest about it, like, we're just going for over the top. We're just trying to have big, insane action and blood and guts, and it's all stupid, but it's all for fun. And I would have been like, you know what? Then I will accept it on those terms. I appreciate that. But he wants to make it seem like they did like earth-shattering, brilliant work. And you're like, this is child's comics. These are for 10-year-old kids to look at and go, fuck, that's cool. But that's kind of fine. Anyway, back to like the sword gun guy. And then now there's another panel down here that I had to look at this. I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? I see insane half a face. There's a giant spiky ball thing. I'm like, where'd that come from? I'm like, oh, it's on his shoulder. I'm like, did he have it on his shoulder over here? Yep, I guess he did. It's hidden behind the "you will die once and forever." And so I'm like, okay, okay. Oh, okay, this is his giant sword thing. I don't know what this giant collection of, like, it looks like a robotic elephant or something down here. But I'm like, oh, now I can see. It's essentially the same fucking shot here and here. Guy swinging his arm, shooting guns from his knife, chopping heads off, and it's the exact same thing. There's his head, there's his shoulder, just like there, and arm and blades both coming this direction. There's the tip of his gun blade here, there's the tip of his gun blade here. It's the same fucking shot. Like, change it up. Do something different. Do a different angle. There's a billion infinite possibilities, and you chose to do the same thing with severed heads all looking straight at us everywhere. So squirting blood, and it's kind of funny. And then to draw all these bullet casings, double lit bullet casings, what a tedious pain in the ass. But it puts something visually interesting in the backgrounds, I guess. So after all that buildup and all that death and destruction and all the soldiers that this guy slaughters, he's just standing there about to come up to the main bad guy, and main bad guy just pulls out of his jacket this giant fucking gun with like the banana clip that's holding like 60 rounds, this giant gun. He pulled that gun out of his jacket somehow, and with a single shot blows the head off this mysterious invader. There he lies on the ground, blood everywhere. He's like, well, that sucked for you, didn't it? Anyway, on with the evil shit. What the fuck was that? From a story perspective, it makes no sense. It doesn't affect anything. It just wastes time and space. But I guess when you're wasting it to do that visually, I guess you get a free pass. My God. Like, and now we're back with Kirby and Prophet. And Prophet's like, he's like, save your life. Where are you, Kirby? How can I save you when I can't find you? Kirby's like, look, I'm having a hard time understanding it myself. God, there's that puffy version of Kirby again. He's like, you just follow me and it'll be all clear. There's someone here who can answer all your questions. Prophet says, but where are we going? He says, I'm not going anywhere, pal. It's your ball game from here. You're my last best hope. I feel a flux in time, a ripple in reality. And then I guess a laser shoots down on him. Like, what is this? The tech looks good. The low-angle shot looks good. But I guess if it's supposed to be a teleportation portal, but they don't say that. So I'm like, well, what's going on? And then it says, all reality shifts. And Prophet shows up somewhere else now. He's like, Kirby? A voice off panel says, he's not here, John. He won't be here for another 70 million years. But we only have hours to save him from a horrible death. And Prophet's like, Dr. Wells. And so I guess this is Dr. Wells. He says, there's so much you don't know, John Prophet, and no time in which to tell you. To be continued. Oh, my God. Like nothing happened. Another issue number 1 where astronauts find mysterious creatures on the moon, I guess. Prophet just stands in the snow talking to himself, fighting giant mecha. Why? How? Who? For what purpose? What consequence? What reason? We don't know. Now you could argue they'll explain it in future issues. Sure, fucking whatever. Giant monster fights him on a cliff. Monster falls off a cliff. Prophet passes out like a little bitch, gets picked up, and he meets up with his boyfriend, and they talk about how you don't know anything about your future. You don't know anything about your life. I'm a hologram. And your life just sucks, and now you got to save my life, bro. Cut to villain guy who meets a version of himself, because he literally says, "Dear me, it's me," and visually they look the same in terms of their face. But bad guy shows up and cuts the head off of everybody, and then gets shot with one bullet, and then back with Kirby and Prophet, and he's like, "Hey, go save me," and he goes into a teleportation portal, and he's a million years, 70 million years past, future, who knows the end. Writer Chuck Dixon. Now, he's known for being a writer, and he's been doing comics for a long time. And I just again, I understand that a first issue could be like, we have to build up to a thing. But, God, it feels like you're just throwing stuff out there, just throwing stuff. And you kind of, it just feels like a whole bunch of nothing is happening. It's just a bunch of scenes for the sake of scenes. And I'm okay with flashy art and excessive violence and sex and insanity, but you got to construct it so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. But who am I to tell Chuck Dixon anything? He's a writer, so I'm just a loudmouth screaming into my own phone. And then letters pages, and there's some cute girl named Nicole, or I guess you could send stuff to, and she'll answer your letters. That's awesome. This was something that I was excited to see, but I really wish they would have given us a better look. It says sketchbook, but these are penciled pages from this book in varying degrees of completion that I'm like, man, show us this stuff. Zoom in on this. Let us see the detail of his pencils. I would die to see what Platt's pencils on this stuff look like in real detail. I just wonder, we talk about artist editions all the time. Somebody get me an artist edition of Stephen Platt's work, especially if there's anything in pencil surviving anywhere. That I would be very, very interested to see. But just a few little bits and pieces there, that's fine. Then kind of a little breakdown of Stephen Platt. He was born on April 1st, 1970, so he was 25 at the time. It just talks about what he likes and what he does and blah, 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 blah. Future plans, keep drawing comics, create new characters, world domination. That's awesome. Spare time, watch movies, read books, go dancing. So that's fun. And, just talks about, this type of stuff I kind of like when you get a little bit of background information on the artists and creators, because social media didn't exist. So you don't know anything about these creators unless they put it in the comics or Wizard or some shit. So I like getting some background information on the guys. Glory Evangeline, whatever, and more books, whatever, whatever, whatever. So there it is. Prophet Volume 2, Number 1. Artistically speaking, it's some of my favorite Stephen Platt stuff, just from his ability to render and detail and all that stuff. From a story perspective and storytelling perspective, it's a little rough. You don't get anything out of this except look at the art. And if the art maintained this level of awesomeness for a long stretch, it kind of, in a way, justifies its existence, in my opinion. But I don't know. I don't know how far it went, and I never wanted to collect these when they were coming out. But they're interesting to look at now, so I don't know. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.